Hi, hello everyone. My name is Mateusz, and today I'm here with Karl Kangur and Karl. And It's so nice to meet you here to talk about three biggest takeaways from the last year in SEO. I will introduce you to our experts. So, Karl Kangur is a serial entrepreneur with 14 years of experience, and together with Kyle Roof, he is a co-host of SEO Estonia. We will talk about this conference in a minute. And also Karl runs sales and marketing at SEO agency called Smash Digital. Hi, Karl.
Hey, thanks for
And,
having us.
and also we have Kyle Roof. He is famous for his Lorem Ipsum case study. He was also talking about it last year in Warsaw during the Kulturalnie OSEO. He also creates Page Optimizer Pro, High Voltage SEO, and Internet Marketing Gold SEO community. And with Karl, he is a co-host of SEO Estonia. So we are meeting here because of the SEO Estonia. So can I ask you, can you talk something about this conference?
Yeah, so conferences have always had an important place in my career. So when I started at 18, I met my first business partner just by attending a conference by accident. That led to 7 years of partnership, a big exit. When I found a buyer for that business, that's the person I met at a conference. So like so many of my career developments have happened during conferences. And if I look at my some of my closest friends, including Kyle, we've met at conferences because we're like-minded people. It's a big like gathering. And I feel like the conference space was massively outdated. It's always about the speakers, which sure it's important. We want to learn from the best, but the overlooked part is the kind of networking aspect of it. That the fact that we get some of the best people who are willing to spend money to come meet other SEOs, and that's really something we wanted to facilitate. That's what SEO Estonia is all about. So you come to the conference not just to hear the talks, but to meet other awesome people who are in the same industry. And if we look at the state of content, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Google, whatever, it's all about search intent. It's all about getting clicks. So the content isn't really about, what's working now. It's how do we get someone's attention? But like the real conversations, the powerful ones, happen in real life with real people at things like conferences. And that was kind of the premise about behind SEO Estonia. So it's a
Yeah.
conference in Tallinn, Estonia, June 12th to 14. Uh, all levels of SEOs are welcome: beginners, intermediate, advanced. We have 16 world-class speakers, including Kyle, myself, Corey, Dash, many, many others. And like I mentioned, it's all about the networking. So you're not just coming there for the talks. We have two masterminds. One is the VIP mastermind. Then we have a deluxe mastermind for kind of the mid-tier ticket. And everything we do at SEO Estonia has a strategic reason. The mastermind is on day one because we want you to get to know some people deeply. And that is going to make it more likely that you're going to go to the after parties and meet more people and have conversations and potentially discover your next best friend or your next business partner and so on and so forth. And that's kind of the big plan behind it. How do we pull the community together? How do we grow together no matter what happens with the next Google update?
Yeah, when I hear feedback from Polish conferences right now for the attendees, the most important parts are networking and masterminds, because this is something that you can do it on YouTube or Facebook. And I
Yeah, and
think you have.
it's very easy to kind of neglect that part. If even as an attendee, a lot of SEOs are introverted and they're shy of like meeting new people. And for us, it's a lot of these little things of how do we incentivize them, even if you don't drink, even if you don't feel like it. How do we get you to show up at the after party? How do we get you to talk to someone else in a fun way and make it simple so you get the most value out of it? And I think that's something last year we did really, really, really good. And this year it's going to be even better.
Great. And I think you have some special offer for our viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. So our prices are constantly ramping up. So for all the viewers now, you can use the coupon Sanudo, and you get 20% off, which brings you back to the early bird pricing. And as a kind of a special deal, anyone who buys in the next 24 hours, we're going to choose 2 people at random whose tickets are going to be upgraded to the VIP tier, which is 1,900 euros for that. So you get to be on the boat party, the mastermind, and so on and so forth.
Okay, great. So as a warm up, Kyle, I thought about your case study, lorem ipsum. I've read that because of this case study, you've lost your positions for 20 pages or something. Can you talk us more about it? What was that?
It was a public competition to rank for the term rhinoplasty plano. There were 27 professionals that entered. Me and my team, we entered, and it was a sprint. It was only a 30-day test, or a 30-day contest, and it was basically whoever's winning at the end is number one. And we actually, in the end, took 5th officially. My now good friend Igor took 1st. But about 2 weeks later, we went to page 1. We were sitting at number 7. About 2 weeks after that, we were number 1. About 2 weeks after that, we were also number 1 in maps. For a while, we wiped out the maps and were the knowledge panel. We were rhinoplasty plano. And the reason that it got a lot of notoriety and people really latched onto it is because we did the entire site in lorem ipsum. But then we did the math. How many times we need to use the target term, its variations, LSI terms, contextual terms, how many times we need to use them and where we need to use them. And then we copied and pasted them into the lorem ipsum is what we did. And we did it to show that, Google's an algorithm. And if you give the algorithm the math that it wants, you can be very successful, and the rest of the words don't really matter. About 3 months after that, an article was written about it. And that night, Google took it, de-indexed the site. And at the same time, they also, or actually, that was about 6 hours later, actually, after the article. And then that night, at like my 115 to like my 127 or something like that, Google de-indexed 20 of my test sites. And the test sites had nothing to do with the site in the competition. They weren't linked in any way. They weren't linked to each other. It was just a punitive attack. And at first it was a bit disheartening, but then I realized that Google validated everything that I was saying. If I was talking nonsense or I got lucky, they would have rolled their eyes and moved on, I think. But by going after me, they validated the entire position, that this is how you can learn about the algorithm, how you can see what's going on. And they actually then wrote a Google rule for it too. you can't, the rule is you can't create a page that contains keywords that doesn't make any sense to the reader, which is funny. So, and it is so I got a Google rule written for me, so that's kind of fun out of it.
Yeah,
but,
it is funny.
Yeah, but yeah, and it still works to this day. I think you said you heard me talking about it last year. But yeah, you can still do it. It still works. There's still pages that are still up, that are still ranking. They're still there, and they've been there for, we're going on 5-6 years now, and they're still there, and they're still doing quite well. And they made it through all the updates.
Okay, thank you. So for our viewers, this meeting will be in a kind of form of Q&A. So feel free to ask us any question on the chat during the webinar. But before you will ask us anything, we will start with our main topic. So you guys suggested to talk about 3 biggest takeaways from the last year in SEO. So what were there? Karl?
Well, I'll start with number 1, actually.
Okay.
Because it's a good lead-in from the rhinoplasty plano, and that is that all the SEO techniques still work. After HCU, I did a lot of testing to see if stuff was still the same, and it was. After the March core update, I've done a lot of testing on things. People are saying, because of AI, like H tags don't matter anymore. Google's not looking at HTML tags at all, and they're just looking at the page, and none of these SEO techniques work, and that's just entirely untrue. They're still, for organic ranking purposes, they're still going through the code like they did before. All of the signals are still the same strength. And so while there's been some disruption in terms of sites getting hit, for sure, the ranking factors have not changed. I've also done some tests with links. Links are still passing juice. Links are still moving pages. Nothing has changed in terms of what you need to do for organic rank.
So we are talking a lot about new things, but everything is still the same.
Yeah, in terms of what you need to do to rank, it all still works. And then there are a lot of sites that I know that have gone up after the March core update, and they're doing great. They're doing just fine. I think sites that may have been hit during that update might languish for a bit. They could be stuck for a while, but that doesn't mean that you can't start a new site or you can't get into something, and you'll have to come up with any new techniques or anything like that. All this stuff from before still works. Just as well as it was working before any of the updates.
Okay, and Karl?
Yeah, just to kind of confirm that, I feel the same way. Where like my bio's a little outdated. I've been doing SEO for 16 years now, but like if I look back where I started, where I am now, it's all the same things. Just like little things here and there, like the strategies change, the exact like technique changes, but the fundamentals have always been the same. And that leads in perfectly to my number one thing, is that link building is still the number one thing. So like link building has been the foundation of Google. That's what made Google, the entire PageRank algorithm. And if we go back, I would say 4 or 5 years, I feel like that was kind of the turning point where Google just started turning up the importance on links with every single update. It doesn't matter what you call the update, every single time you saw just bigger and bigger sites starting to rank. So we go back 5-6 years, you look for, I don't know, something like cowboy boots, something like super niche in e-commerce. You would have this like mom and pop shop that's a relatively low authority site, and they're doing well. They have a chance. You Google something about internet marketing, you might find my blog. You might find kind of like smaller independent niche site owners. And over time, it's just been faded out more and more and more. And now if we look at kind of the crisis we've had over the last 2 years of, parasite SEO is bigger than ever. Parasite SEO was a thing in 2012 when I started. We already did that. Now it has a name, but like it's become more important because Google's giving more credit to sites like Forbes, Outlook India, whoever it may be. And it's just kind of a resurgence of that. And I think more than ever now with like AI content, that's the only way that can really combat it, because based on my research, they can't algorithmically figure out what's AI content, because AI can just evolve against that. And if I look back to my early days, there's a point where I was 14 years old. I was doing link building. I didn't know any code, barely spoke it. Well, okay, I spoke fine English, but I was able to run 7 VPSs from my house and build 1,000 backlinks per minute, and like massively scale things up using automated software and so on and so forth. Now, picture this. You have someone who has 70 IQ points on me, knows how to code, understands technology, and you give them AI, and they're able to automatically generate a perfectly optimized page, 1,000 keywords, 1,000 profitable niches, automatically generate a website. They can do 1,000 of these every single day. They just need one to rank. So links is one of the very few ways you can weed that out, because links are still today the hardest thing to manipulate by far.
And would you say it's still possible for smaller sites, for small businesses to get the top positions in Google without the massive amount of AI content or massive amount of money for links?
Yeah, so currently it's tricky, right? Because Google wants what it wants right now. This is the state of search right now. That's what we're valuing. But if I've learned anything over the last 16 years, and that's kind of my second point, is that Google changes their mind all the time. So just because this is what's happening now doesn't mean it's going to be like that a year from now, 2 years from now. They could literally roll it back tomorrow. We could see massive recoveries. Reddit could be gone in a week. And they've done this many, many times. And I'll kind of lead that to the next point. The second one is that you need to experiment these things. And like, I don't experiment in the scientific way or like the engineer way like Kyle does. I don't make fake pages and like split test them against each other. But we experiment with what happens on real sites when we make changes. So one of my personal marketing sites got hit with the October core update last year, and I was using all the tools, Surfer and Page Optimizer Pro. Everyone gave me 100 out of 100 in terms of the optimization score. You're doing everything great. And then actually Kyle's tool, Page Optimizer Pro, had this feature for check for over optimization. But all the tools were saying I was good. I ticked that box, and then it said, hey, actually, maybe you're using the main keyword too many times, like 12 instead of 4. And I cut down the article basically in half, just way under optimized it. I waited 6 weeks because when you make the change, things are going to go up and down. You want to give it ample time to actually see what effect it has and just keep running these experiments. So we popped it back up to number 3. Okay, what if I bump it up to, I use the keyword 5 times, 6 times, 1 time? What happens? And just kind of keep adapting. And this might be niche dependent. It might change from topic to topic. I don't think like correlational analysis tools are perfect.
Okay, in terms of experiments, I see that you have in your lineup Sebastian Heyman, so the well-known Polish SEO specialist in terms of experiments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and Kyle, what is your second takeaway?
It's kind of along those lines. I've been talking about running SEO tests for the better part of 10 years, and I've given a lot of presentations on it, and it does impress me how many people don't do anything. I think what I'm realizing through these last couple updates, where things maybe have gotten a little bit harder or they're confusing, is that people do tinker with their sites some, but they do a lot of things at once. They don't really know what may or may not work, but they don't have a way to independently verify anything. They don't have sites on the side where they can try things out and see and do one thing and see if it doesn't even have to be a scientific test, but just implement one technique and see how that does and see if it works. And I really think if you want to continue to be competitive, you can't be technique focused. As Karl said, things change, and if that technique doesn't work anymore, what are you going to do? Knowing a technique isn't SEO. It's understanding more the bigger picture, what we're trying to do, and what we're trying to do is get impressions and clicks. But if you get locked into, this is the one way I know how to get impressions and clicks, if that doesn't work anymore, a lot of people are stuck. And so I would encourage people to have something on the side. Have a little blog that you're just writing about something that you enjoy, or even if you don't enjoy it, you can just buy something and resurrect it. But have a place to try these things out, because it's becoming glaringly obvious that a lot of people have learned techniques, but they have no way to develop anything themselves. They don't really have any way to test to see if anything is working or not, or even if they want to run a more rigorous test, they really have no method for doing that at all. And so in the last year, I think it's become much more obvious that very, very few people are doing any kind of testing. And I think that's problematic. And I think that's where a lot of people are having problems.
Yeah, it's also a bad practice to do experiments on your client's site.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. Or like even like experimenting on something that you care about, and they're different, obviously different degrees of risk when you're doing certain things. If you're just tinkering with, your H tag, that's not really that big a deal, but there are things that can be problematic, and you definitely don't want to burn down something you care about if things go off the rails. So have some test sites. We talk about it all the time, and I think people like kind of nod their head like, yeah, they know that's something they should do, and they never get around to it. And I think it's more important than ever to have that, so you can play around with things and figure out what's working now. So you're not technique dependent. That you can adapt and pivot and not only survive but thrive with the current state of SEO.
Okay, thanks. And Karl, what is your third takeaway?
The third takeaway is to diversify. And during times like this, that can sound kind of negative, but I don't mean diversify because SEO is dying or it's not important or it's going to go away. I don't think that. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It might change it a little bit, but like ultimately we're algorithm optimizers and it's always going to be an algorithm. We'll figure out, the new way to approach things. But the important reason to diversify, and this comes down to your not only traffic source, but revenue source, is reason number two we talked earlier. Google changes their mind. So if you're only reliant on Google traffic, you make 95% of your revenue from just SEO, and you got hit by the HCU, you got to let your team go, you're firing people, you might go bankrupt. But like we discussed earlier, there's a chance. It could be 2 months from now, it could be 8 months from now, and things could revert back. You could be higher than you were ever before. But if all of your money was coming from that one place, you might not have the resources to sit through that period and see what actually happens. So you want to make sure the business can still operate whether SEO is there or not. That's just good business sense in general. And then all the other stuff is a bonus, because there are a lot of theories like, hey, is it about brand searches? Maybe brand searches are affecting it. Maybe it's about how diverse your traffic sources are. Maybe it's about, what your business model is. Is it affiliate? Is it ads? Is it software? I personally don't believe those things, but like as a fail-safe, it's a pretty good thing to do nonetheless.
So, are you not worried about AI overview and that people will only read this part of Made by AI and not go to our websites?
I think if you go to Twitter right now and check out Lily Ray and look at her most recent tweets, and you see how bad the AI overview actually is. And I think it's actually a toned down version of what SGE was. It's even stupider than the kind of data version we had before. The amount of things it makes up, things it gets wrong, like there's so many problems with it. Google has shareholders. They respond to the stock price. They need to put on a show. They need to keep up with Microsoft. I think they rolled this out prematurely. There's a chance they might roll back. Like the amount of issues, like imagine someone's Googling about my blood pressure is 180, 120. What do I do? And then the AI pulls something from Reddit and goes, I don't know, do a line of cocaine. It's like, which could totally be legit content on Reddit, but like someone can die from that. That's a lawsuit in Europe and in the US. Then you have the entire side in especially in the EU about copyrights. Like they're literally scraping people's content and stealing it and monetizing it. It's like, in what world is that okay? How is this not going to be targeted in some way? So like with all these issues, I don't see a way of how it's realistically at the current state going to sustain. I think it's a big show. They need to do it. I get it. But yeah, we'll see how things play out.
It shocks me when someone says that they stopped using Google because there is ChatGPT and they can ask anything to ChatGPT. There are
and like the
so
SGE,
bad answers.
The SGE thing, AI overview, was rolled out in the US, I think, as of for a week now, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not heard of a single person say that my traffic was impacted by this. So no one's actually losing traffic to this thing yet. And I think a big part of that is they're probably rolling it out to way less keywords than we might just perceive at a glance.
Okay, and Kyle, what is your third takeaway?
my third thing is it's possible that we might go through a contraction period in SEO where there are fewer people doing SEO, there are fewer service providers, there are fewer people buying services or products. But that's a natural thing that I've seen a few times in the last decade. In 2018 and 2019, there was, I think, a big surge of people doing SEO, and then COVID hits and a lot of people are at home, and I think they pick up a side job. in SEO, and things continue. And then now these updates have, I think, discouraged a lot of those people, and they might be getting out. But when there's a downturn, when there's a recession in an economy, that's when more millionaires are made. And as Warren Buffett said too, when there's blood in the streets, that's the time to buy. And so while I know there are a lot of people doom and glooming this, I see this more as opportunity. Like if we're in this game and we figure out what's going on, this is the time where you can be very successful in SEO. You can make a lot of money, and I think it's the right time to be here. So while people, I almost want more people to be down on it, because then that clears out more people, and then if you're providing services or you've got your sites, that clears out competition. Yeah, let them think it's going away. Let them get out, or let them pivot to something else entirely, and then we can be here. And that's the time. I'm seeing more times of hope. That this is an exciting time where we can really do well and capitalize. So I'm embracing the doom and gloom, because I don't really see it as much, but I also think like, yeah, sure, get out, go away, and I think we'll do pretty well. So I'm encouraged. Going, about halfway through 2024 and then into 2025, I think while it might be a difficult time for some, I think there's real opportunity for most of us to do very, very well.
Okay, so for our viewers, we are still waiting for your questions. Feel free to ask, don't be shy. If you want to ask them in Polish for our Polish audience, feel free to it. I will translate it. And in the meantime,
to kind of piggyback on that, I think Kyle has a really good point in terms of the amount of opportunities. Like if you're only about making money, this is one of the greatest times ever, because imagine there's someone's affiliate site, someone's ad-based site that got destroyed by the helpful content update. They were making $100,000 a month. That business would have been valued in the millions. Now they fired all the employees, they've given up, and the assets, they're literally just moving on with their life. You might be able to buy this thing for $30K, $50K, $100K, $200K. And once we have a way to recover from the helpful content update and it jumps back to that, like the return on investment on that is insane. And I saw this play out a couple of years ago when we had it was the product reviews updates that impacted a lot of affiliate sites. And then sites were literally going from making $35K a month down to $2K a month, $3K a month. So naturally, some people sold them at the $2K a month valuations they now deserved. And then I actually have a friend of mine who figured out how to get around it, because he bought a new domain. Actually, he was buying aged domains, and the site that got penalized got 301 redirected to the new one. The penalty didn't carry over right away. He would rank for another year. Eventually, it would get penalized, but he just kept moving that around. And that entire time, he was making crazy amounts of money with it. So that's obviously like kind of a more black hat version of it, but Google could just change their mind, like we mentioned before, in terms of what they're looking for. And many of those sites can come back. And if we look at a lot of the sites that have been hit massively, 90% plus, many of them are incredible websites. Like Kyle and I have a common friend with a travel business, and like it's one of the best travel blogs in the world. Every single photo on the site was custom, blah, blah, blah. All the writers were experts, living in the cities they talked about, and the content was written in a unique way. They had a great backlink profile. They have every reason in the world to rank. They're just gone. Like, I think there's a very, very high chance that site is going to come back, and many others like it. But, being in that state as the business owner, he might just let it go at some point. And that's an opportunity for someone else who's willing to kind of persist through these times.
So you don't believe all the people on Twitter saying that it's basically end of content sites forever?
I didn't believe the people on Twitter before this. I don't know why I would start believing them now. I don't know that their track record is all that great. So you might need to monetize in a different way. You might have to get creative with that. But again, that's, if you just were technique locked and said, okay, well, I'm just going to do this thing and do that, then you might be stuck. But if you can get creative with how you're going to monetize, if you can get creative with how you're using that content, maybe the different mediums, as Karl said, if you're now diversifying across different platforms, there's a lot that can be done. And I don't think that content sites in and of themselves are dead. They just might have to adapt a little bit, but that's okay. You can adapt. You can do that. And as I mentioned earlier, the techniques to rank are still the same. So there's going to be some creativity involved. There's going to be finding out some new techniques. Testing is going to be involved in that, but that can be done, and you can be very, very successful.
Do you have some advice for content website owners how to monetize? I think in Poland the most popular way is affiliate ads and selling backlinks. Anything else?
I think one of the biggest issues is, and what Google has heartburn about, is that a lot of the affiliate sites are just doorway pages. And I got this concept originally from Kazra Dash, who's shameless plug, one of the speakers at SEO Estonia. But he identified that a doorway page is where you rank for a particular keyword. Somebody comes in, and then in order for them to complete what they want to do, you rank for the best vacuum term or the lead. You funnel them somewhere else. You funnel them off to a different site. That's a doorway page. That's essentially what a lot of affiliate sites are. And so you need to figure out a way to not do that, to keep them on the site or keep the conversion on the site so that Google doesn't think that you're just funneling them away. Maybe there's an opt-in to see the prices. Maybe there's an email that they get. There are a lot of different things you can do so that you're still making that affiliate commission, but in a way that isn't immediately funneling them off, or doing it in a way where there might be confusion from the users to what exactly is going on. That you're not tricking them into getting over to Amazon, that they understand and acknowledge that they're going there, and are consenting to it. So there's going to be some creativity involved with that, but I think there's a lot that you can do to still do those types of sites and still make that type of money. It just might not be the doorway page method, which has been on the no list for Google anyway. They've just probably finally got super tired of it. I mean, they've been hostile to affiliate sites for the last 5-6 years anyway. It's no surprise to me that then the last 2 updates hit affiliate sites. Like, what a shocker. That's exactly what they've been going after the entire time. So yeah, that's where I would start to put my thinking cap on and get creative on how to monetize in those ways.
Okay, and I have a question to you about AI. How it changed your work? How do you use it?
We use it for a content idea generation and then like a first draft type thing. You never want to take AI content and just publish it directly to your site, because it's not AI. It's a language model that's essentially spinning other words that it knows. It's a content spinner, a very fancy one, and it's a content spinner that talks to you very nicely, but it's still just a content spinner. So you still have to edit for facts because it hallucinates. You have to edit for brand and tone and uniqueness. So where we're using AI and where we have used AI is just that in let's get the content scheduled together, generate content ideas, and then a good first draft. Something that AI has probably heard is the 3 cent word type content people. I think it's replaced that. I think those industries have been hit pretty hard. But high-end content hasn't been touched by that, because you can't just, AI can't get specific about things, and it also doesn't have the understanding of, a CEO level for some kind of, SaaS business or finance or something like that. So those weren't touched, but that we were kind of outsourcing or getting kind of writers for that low-end content, and we replaced those with AI.
Okay, and Karl?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a heavy AI user. It's definitely made my life cushier and kind of easier in some ways, like speeding up little small tasks, doing things like data analysis, brainstorming ideas, and writing a landing page, an email. I always go there to kind of get ideas, get revisions of things I actually want to say, and then I just choose the best ones here and there. When it comes to more concrete SEO uses, there's a concept I'm kind of experimenting with, is trialing keywords using AI content, because I'm in the digital marketing space. The average word count for a really high quality piece is 5,000 words. That means at least $500 I need to spend on each article. And no SEO in the world doesn't matter how good your content is, how good your site is. No article has 100% hit rate. You're never going to rank all of them. Some pages Google likes more. Some pages never go anywhere, no matter what you do with them. It might be a small percentage, but it's still there. But that's a sunk cost to me. So what I'm experimenting with is I mostly work with very, very high authority sites. So I'm using kind of the simpler, easy AI content to chuck out 50 articles, let's say, and then 10 of these are going to be on the second page within the first week. Then I give them to my best copywriter and tell them to rewrite it and actually make it good. Out of the other ones, 20 of them are not in top 100. I'm going to completely get rid of those, delete them, so I don't have unhelpful content on my site. I don't have spam on my site. And then the ones in the middle, I just make some tweaks to them, see what happens, and then follow that process. And that's something that's been working quite well for me, and I'm excited to kind of see. It's saving me a lot of money, and it's currently working quite well.
Okay, great. And we have first question from Omar. Why would Google be targeting display ads content sites when Google's own revenue is based on ads?
They're still there. I mean, their ad revenue went up in Q1. Just because they took out some small time player with display ads doesn't mean they didn't replace it with a larger brand that also has display ads on it. You know, there are 10 spots on page 1 and 10 spots on page 2, and those are full of sites that have the display ads. It's not like they don't have the sites to do the ads. They just took away some and replaced them with others, and all those still have ads as well. So they didn't, by taking out some of those sites, they're not losing revenue because there are only so many spots on page 1. It's not like, you know, nobody's going to page 5 or 6 for anything. And I'm sure there's still, you can get all the way down there and there's still display ads as well. So they're not losing any revenue by the sites that they're showing.
Okay, so another question from me. Imagine you need to advise to some junior or mid SEO in which topic he or she should improve. What is the best aspects of SEO that is good to learn right now and what to improve?
I don't know. It always just seems like you can find the thing that you like, right? And you can be, you know, Carl's excellent at building links. I'm much more on page, and I think we're both pretty successful. And I think we both gravitated just towards the thing that we liked, you know. So try it out a bit. But maybe if I was, you know, advising my son what to learn, I would learn how to code Python. You know, I would learn how to scrape, because data collection is going to be a big part of stuff going forward. And Python might not be the code of the future, but it is a big part of the code of right now. And I would learn that. I'd learn HTML and I'd learn front-end WordPress. And with those things, you can probably be a pretty dangerous SEO, just having the knowledge of how to do those things.
Yeah, I would say knowing Python is a very useful thing in life, in general life, in technology.
Yeah, I mean, you know, actually the joke is that if you can fix the website and if you can fix the Excel spreadsheets, you can never get fired from your job, because you're the only one that knows how to do those things. So if you learn like front-end PHP and learn how to do Excel pretty well, you are unfireable from any company.
Karl, anything to add?
Yeah, it's the classic SEO answer. It depends. Every business, every objective has its own bottlenecks. So if you work for a massive company, let's say you work for Sanudo, you guys already have the links. The SEO guys doesn't need to learn more about link building probably. You carry that part. So then it's like, okay, what do we have left? We have content or technical. Okay, technical is already great because we have that in the team. Okay, how do we create better content? How do we create more content? How do we speed this process up, and so on and so forth? Versus, you know, if you're in local SEO or lower competition industries, great. Then it's more, you know, you might not need links to get that edge, and just being really good at on-page might be enough. And if you're in super competitive industries, well, then you probably need to do all the things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Omar has another question. would you advise using AI to create silos for your site, or is this best done looking at SERPs?
No, it's great. I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier with like getting content ideas. I use that for my supporting content when I build out silos. So that's an excellent thing to do. And you can get a content plan for months out of AI, and you can get it to write those first drafts for you. And if it's just supporting content, it really doesn't need that much editing beyond, you know, uh, uh, just a little bit of editing for that uniqueness and for factualness, and you're probably good to go. So yeah, that's a great thing to use it for.
Okay, Karl, any other opinion, or do you agree with Kyle?
Yeah, so Omar said like he's looking for the 80-20 approach, and like you just apply the 80-20 approach to that. Like you see what works, and the same thing, like if your silos don't rank whatsoever, like nothing is helping you, get rid of them. Do another one. If something starts to rank, you have an AI written supporting article and it's ranking number 7, well, then go in, put it in a little more effort. Make it actually good for the user now because it's already there. You don't need to delete it because it's number 7. Google obviously doesn't think it's unhelpful at this point.
Okay, so as you see, you can still ask questions on in our comments. Omar has already done it 3 times, and it's really good. And so I have another question for you from myself. For using an example, my dad has a e-commerce for pets, and he has basically very low budget. What would you advise for the website? Like what to do first? Content, links, optimization for small e-commerce site.
Does he have the ability to write his own content?
Again, can you repeat?
Does he have the ability to write his own content?
Yeah.
Do that. That's free. when in doubt, get the content up. That's going to be probably the most cost effective thing you can do. And I would try to figure out where I could post content, and this is just through a lot of research where there's going to be content gaps. So again, that keyword research is, you can just do it in Google, or you can use tools, but finding things that you can post with minimal effort for rank is what I would shoot for. So longer tail, lower competition type keywords, and I would just start cranking those out if I didn't have any budget.
Okay, Karl, anything else?
It depends. My favorite SEO answer. So like I'm a firm believer that when it comes to SEO, it's always about the combination of those 3 things, right? On page, links, and content. And all of them multiply each other. So the logic being, if I have the same on page as my competitors and the same content, then we're fighting on links. So for every single business, doesn't matter if it's e-com or not, you want to look at the thing you're missing and shift your focus there. And there's 3 ways to do everything. Like we sell very, very expensive links, I'll admit that, but like you can get amazing links, not at the same volume, not the same scalability, but by using things like Haro. There are alternatives to Haro, which is now dead, like feature.com. You can spend 15 minutes a day sending out answers and land 7 DR7 links every single month. If that's your bottleneck, that's the best course of action. If your site only has 5 products and 4 articles, great. That's probably the next thing you need to double down on to keep growing.
Okay. And Omar has another question. How often should you update target pages versus supporting pages?
You're going to want to, especially for target pages, you want to keep an eye on things if the SERPs have shifted. If there's been an update and there are new competitors in there, or some competitors didn't like getting kicked off of page 1. It's kind of funny. SEOs think that they're the only SEOs in the world sometimes, and they forget that the other sites that are competing for that term probably have SEOs that are trying to do something, right? But then when those things happen, when new competitors come in, when there's an algorithm change that has brought in new sites onto page 1, the goalposts will often shift. And so you want to make sure that you've benchmarked your important terms, and then you can see what has changed. You'd also want to benchmark your link profile. You're ranking on page 1, you've got this link profile, and you've got this the benchmarks for your important terms, when things shift, you can see like, oh, hey, these sites now have these types of links. Carl talks about that a lot, finding your gap in your link profile. Maybe these new sites come in and they have a slightly different profile than you do. That's something you're going to adjust. Same with your important terms. You might see that the benchmark, the goalposts have shifted a little bit, and now you need to use maybe these types of terms a few more times to stay within what Google's looking for those types of pages. So you're going to want to have a way to monitor that. But I guess at a minimum, that's something like a quarterly type thing. I would say at a minimum that you're looking at. But if you're getting like if it's target pages and they're really important to you, I'd be monitoring that, every couple of weeks, monthly, and maybe thinking about tweaking things as you go.
Okay. So if there are no more questions, I think we'll be coming to an end. Before this, for the people who don't know Senuto, probably there are some. Here, we are an SEO tool when you can plan your content, write your content. We have also AI writer content tracker to track if your positions, your target pages are going down in Google. And you can try us for free. On the screen, you have a link, senu.to/trial. There is 14 days completely for free without giving your card details. And also for people that weren't here at the beginning of the webinar, Karl and Kyle are organizing SEO Estonia, so conference in Tallinn with best SEO specialists basically around the world. We have also Polish speakers, Robert Niechciał, who is also ambassador of Senuto, and Sebastian Heyman, who was also in some webinars on our channel. So I invite you to join the SEO Estonia conference, and Karl and Kyle prepared a special code for you to use when buying tickets. And I see there is another question from Omar.
Perfect tie-in. Perfect last question.
Yes.
Thank you, Omar. Good job.
When attending SEO conferences, what strategies would you advise to get the best out of conference? The best question to end this webinar.
Like I mentioned in the beginning, it's the true value in SEO conferences is the networking. And I'm an introvert at heart. Like it's tough to meet new people. Like it's not something that comes naturally to me, and it can be scary, especially if you don't know anyone else at the conference. Like if you go with your friends, it gets a little bit easier. But the number one strategy is that remember that we're all there for the same reason. We're all coming to the conference to meet other people. So like no one's ever gonna respond negatively to you, or there's nothing bad that can happen. Say hi. Get to know someone, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, go to all the events. Say yes to everything. If somebody says, hey, you want to do lunch? The answer is yes. You want to do dinner? Yes. Say yes to everything. And something that we've done at SEO Estonia is we set it up to that it's like, as Karl said, I'm quite introverted. I don't like meeting people that much. Even though I'm at conferences constantly, I'm on stage all the time. It's an act. But we have it set up so that it's actually really easy to meet people. If you're the kind of person like, I don't know if I want to meet, like it's set up so that you can do it in an easy way, in a safe way, in a comfortable way. And as Karl said, everyone there is to meet people. That they all want to take advantage of that. So definitely say yes, do all the events, and meet people.
For me,
come to SEO Estonia.
For me, networking is also hard, but I was surprised that last time I was on LinkedIn conference, there was someone like networking manager. So someone who was walking between people and asking them to meet and to talk. Yeah, it was really good. So, okay, guys, thank you for today. Thank you for all this knowledge or these informations. And I hope the SEO Estonia will turn out great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a nice day, all.